Choosing to spec your new car without radio and sat-nav, leaving a big empty hole in the middle of the dash, must feel a bit scary. These days it's akin to turning your phone off. No, actually it's more like choosing to live somewhere with no phone signal. But in the same way it can feel liberating and rather relaxing to go off-grid. So the clarity of mind and singularity of purpose instilled by a car with no infotainment can be wonderful. This is the Carrera T, and it's all about the drive.
So what is the 911 Carrera T? Well, it's Porsche's attempt to bring a driver's 911 to more people. So while a GT3 or a 911R might be out of reach for whatever reason, this, well, it's a curious mix of up-speccing and down-speccing. It's based on a standard Carrera, but it's got all the bits and pieces that it probably only makes sense to you if you really want a proper driver's 911. So we've got things like limited slip diff and the PASM sports suspension, which is 20mm lower, that you normally can't spec on a Carrera. You can only spec them on a Carrera S. This gets a sports exhaust as standard. You get basic seats. You get no rear seats at all. As we've mentioned, no sat-nav, no radio, if that's what you want. Lightweight rear glass, and these lightweight door trims as well. It all adds up to a car that's, well, very focused. So what's it like to drive? Well, certain things you notice as soon as you get in. The shorter throw of this stubby gear lever, and since the last time that I drove a manual 911 with this 7-speed box, the box is much more precise, much heavier in its weighting, which just makes it easier to control around that slightly curious sort of reverse dogleg gate. The limited slip diff certainly helps. Can you tell this is a more lightweight car? No, to be honest. I mean, it saves about 20 kilos and the car overall weighs 1,500 kilos, so I think your name would have to be Nick Tandy to sense such subtle shifts in your driving universe. But with the extra noise, there is a change in the character of the car, I think. And I just like the fact that it has lightweight rear glass, and that's just cool. You don't have to be able to feel something to know it's there and feel better about the car as a result.
We could have driven this in the south of France, but I don't think this is a car just for high days and holidays. The T is for all weathers and all roads and all days. It should be the opposite of a garage queen. It should be used all the time, instilling fun into every journey. This car and the sort of person that buys it will want to take the long way to get some nails, a spot of food, a hammer for the nails, some replacement food for the meal you left in the oven. And there won't be any worrying about the extra mileage. If you decide to pop into town, via the coast a couple of hours away, that's fine. The time behind the wheel will be relished. And while something like a GT2 RS is the mad friend that you go out with once a year for shots on a Friday night, only to wake up the following Tuesday, the more sane T should be your best friend, the one you don't have to make a special effort for, but which you do anyway.
Some people are going to want to know if this really is a cut-price GT3 or 911R, and the answer is, well, no, it's not. It can't be. It's not part of the GT cars department, so it hasn't got that magic. It's still just a well-spec'd Carrera, if we're being honest, and of course it hasn't got a naturally aspirated engine like the R or the GT3. Having said that, this engine is pretty incredible. I know it's turbocharged, but this standard 3 litre with 365 brake horsepower, 332 pounds-foot of torque, and it really does like to rev. It's incredibly quick for a standard Carrera engine. This is good. It's very, very impressive, this 3 litre engine. This car, which is obviously left-hand drive and on German plates, is come equipped with winter tyres, which is, well, just as well really, because it is chuffing cold and, well, winter. I'm sure engineers hate their cars going onto winter tyres because they obviously want optimum grip. But I actually rather like it, precisely for the reason that these tread blocks and sipes move around more, so you can actually feel the dynamic balance of the car at lower speeds. And that's just a very nice thing, particularly in a driver's car. It's It's interesting driving a Carrera again. When I first drove one of these, I thought it was probably the least 911 like 911 I've ever driven, and I stand by that. The turn-in is just extraordinary. However, having spent quite a lot of time in a Cayman recently, there's no doubting that you can still feel all the 911 things underneath this car. You still have to work with that rear-engined, rear-biased weight balance. You can't drive it like a Cayman still. It's still a 911. So what should we conclude about the Carrera T? Well, I like what it stands for. I like the fact that Porsche is continuing to recognise the fact that it produces drivers' cars, and it should produce cars for drivers. We've obviously had the GT4, the 911R, the fact they've brought the manual gearbox back into the GT3 for the second generation of the 991, and now we've got this. My challenge to them though would be that I want this car but at an even lower price point. So a lot of the options on this are no cost delete, so things like the sat nav and radio and the rear seats, you could have them at no extra cost, and that is reflected in the price. And therefore this is what, £85,000, so it's getting on for £10,000 more than a very base Carrera. What I would like to see is a car that costs less than a currently base Carrera, putting it in reach of even more people, but make this absolutely standard. So you cannot spec sat nav and radio, you cannot spec rear seats. You perhaps get the limb slip diff, but you get the smaller wheels. You get a car that is just essence of 911. It's not for cruising down the King's Road. It's not going to make you perhaps cosset you as much as you might expect. But if you're a driver and you just want a 911, you want that rear engine feel, then it brings it tantalisingly perhaps a little bit closer in terms of price. So that's my challenge to you, Porsche. Bring that car out. That's what I want to see.